Hey Kings, what's poppin'? It's me, Cheems of Regret. So Battlefield 2042 had a free weekend and I gave it a swing, which was a mistake. A huge mistake. Now before we go on further in this video, let me make something clear. This video is not a review. This video is not an analysis. This video is a hit piece. This video is me kicking the game while it's down in the gutter and dropping a hot steaming dump on it before spitting on its malformed, disfigured face. Because frankly, it's absolutely what this game deserves. I'm not interested in being fair because quite frankly, DICE hasn't been fair with their player base for years. If anything, this is comeuppance for how they treated their players for so long. So saddle up, this is going to be a ride. No joke, 2042 probably had one of, if not the worst game launches I've had the experience of playing. And I played Cyberpunk at launch, so I know what I'm talking about. It completely baffles me to no end that this game was launched in its state. I seriously want to know what was going on the heads of DICE and EA's execs when they saw the absolute mess of a game this was and said, yes, this is a good stuff. Launch it. Because 2042 needed to be delayed. Desperately needed to be delayed. Remember when the Halo Infinite trailer dropped in 2020 and it didn't look very good? So Microsoft and 343 decided to delay it by a whole year? Yeah, 2042 needed one of those delays. The game is underbaked by all hell. It's in such a raw state it'd make Gordon Ramsay cuss out all sorts of expletives that would get a sailor to blush. This game needed at the very least an extra year in development. The state in which this game launched in is quite simply beyond unacceptable. It's so unacceptable that I'm actually scared to reinstall and run the game again because it actually crashed my PC once. I heard the Windows error noise, then my screen went black. I literally couldn't do anything after that besides press the reset button on my PC. Given the Frostbite engine's history of breaking hardware, I'm not taking any chances and I'm avoiding this game breaking my computer. Hence why you're not watching 2042 gameplay. Where do I even start with talking about this shitfest? Do I start with the horrible optimization, or do I start with the horrendous gameplay design choices they've made? Because both of them equally perplex me due to how bad they are. 2042 is an absolute shit show when it comes to optimization. I should have recorded my gameplay because it is hard to describe just how dog-ass this game runs. Now, full disclosure, I am running a GTX 1660 and an i5-9400F. Not the best setup in the world, but also far from the worst. The setup should have put me comfortably somewhere in the medium settings for a solid 1080p 60fps. After all, that's the performance I got during the beta. 1080p 60fps on medium settings. Imagine my shock then, when I launched my first multiplayer match and my frame rates were flip-flopping between 20 to 50 FPS harder than crap gamer flip-flops between Xbox and PlayStation. Like, how? How is it possible that the beta ran better than the finished product? This doesn't compute at all. Halo Infinite's insider previews from July ran noticeably worse than when the launch version came out in November. How is it that DICE managed to make their October beta run better than the game in December? A month and a half after it launched. It's almost impressive how horribly they shit the bed with this one. Again, I wish I had the foresight to record my gameplay, but alas, I was too dumbfounded by the game running like total dog ass to hit my record button. Now, while I was trying out the game, I was updating the lads in my Discord server how the game was running. While I was alt-tabbing between the game and Discord, I accidentally hit the tab button twice and landed on my task manager. This is what I found. The game was hogging my entire CPU for itself. What the fuck? Now, I'm no game dev. The full extent of my game development knowledge is limited to editing face gen and voice line files in Skyrim Edit. That's it. But from an outsider's perspective, even I can see something is horribly wrong with the game's optimization. The maps are bigger than before, yes, but they're also empty. Lifeless. The destruction is a downgrade from Battlefield 5, but despite all of that, the game still decides to yoink up to 90% of my CPU. How do you even justify this? Total horsecock is what this game is. And before any of you say that this is just me and it's all isolated to me, I know for a fact that it's not. I've talked to a handful of other players and a lot of them report the same thing. You need a PC that can fight a deity in order to run this, and even then you're not going to max out the performance. It's absolutely shameful. Now, after tinkering and activating dynamic resolution, I finally got steady 60 FPS, but holy hell, the trade-off with the graphical fidelity is nowhere near worth it. I'm not usually one to whinge or cry about graphics, but Jesus fucking Christ, take a look for yourself. Look at this screenshot and tell me it doesn't resemble a late PS3 360 game. I'm pretty sure Battlefield 3 with the lowest possible settings still looked better than this. What the fuck even is this? The worst part is that this actively fucks with the gameplay. The dynamic resolution messes with visibility so much that it makes it even more difficult to tell between friend and foe. As if that wasn't hard enough already with the specialists. The specialists, oh my god, the fucking specialists. A monument to all the fuck-ups DICE made over the course of 2042's development cycle. The specialists aren't a step back from Battlefield's game design, it's a giant backflip all the way back to the starting line. These motherfuckers working on the game, instead of continuously iterating and improving on a system that has worked for almost 2 decades at this point, decided to ditch everything and go with these generic, uninteresting, cringe-ass specialists. POV, you are the Battlefield class system during 2042's development to make a battle royale. I already saw Tom Henderson's video on what a shit show 2042's development was, as well as all the other channels like Big Fry or Level Cap talking about what an absolute mess 2042's launch was. Honestly, they're all wrong. The game's core design isn't bad, it's dog shit horrendous. Little side tangent here. Trust me, it'll come back around to my big gripe with 2042 specialists. In a GDC presentation, legendary game developer Sid Meier talked about how given the opportunity, players will optimize the fun out of a video game. Players are still human, after all. It's in human nature to remove as much uncertainty as we can from a situation. That nature translates into how we act in games. How many times have we, as players, forced ourselves to play whatever meta strat there is in a game, regardless of how awful it makes the gameplay become, just because we know it's the best way to win? How much of a challenge was that? How fun was it? How creative is this kind of gameplay sandbox? Not very much on all points, I'd wager. This is why game devs have to force you out of your comfort zone to tackle challenges. Otherwise, we get moments like this.
We do see the Outlaws are going to pull out Dante's Tracer. This has been some of the things that Outlaws fans have been waiting for is a good Tracer player on Houston. It's Jake on the far. This combo's worked well for them before, but as soon as they see the defensive setup, they will just simply swap it away. Crucial time lost here for the Outlaws.
I'm just letting the fans give their, the fans here in the studio give their opinion.
Well, you know, you want your team to win, right? They're going to have to play what's meta.
This sort of slavish adherence to the meta strat strangles player creativity. That's not good. Now back to the topic of 2042 specialists and why they're objectively ass. Again, since everyone can do anything, everyone will just roll out with whatever meta loadout they can get and just play that way. You know how many squads of grappling gun sniper motherfuckers I saw in the beta, in my short playthrough combined? Or the same medic running around with the same gun? Too much is the answer. This isn't just the enemy team either, your team is doing the same. So now you have 2 teams of identical looking dudes running around playing the exact same strat, and the only way to tell the difference between them is a colored dot above their head. That's it. A single colored dot above their head is the difference between life or death. Quick, these 3 identical guys are on the dead sprint towards you. You have 1 second to decide if they're friend or foe. Time's up. They're your friends. You just wasted a magazine's worth of ammo because you couldn't tell they were your buddies. Now you're dead because you're too busy panicking while an actual enemy hit you from your side. That's the Battlefield 2042 experience, baby. It just fucking baffles me that so little thought was put into a core feature that is integral to gameplay. When Halo Infinite ditched red versus blue colors in favor of armor coatings, 343 still had the foresight to add friend-foe highlights. It's not a perfect system, but it's leagues better than a tiny fucking dot above a player's head that's very easy to miss. Honestly, I can keep going with gameplay decisions that I just find fucking stupid. How about helicopters having regenerating health and infinite ammo? How about player regen being too generous? How about ammo scavenging letting you restock rocket launchers and gadgets? Is this a team-based war game or is this a 128-player match of Call of Duty? The core gameplay design is just atrocious. The game does not feel like it's designed around 2 armies facing off each other. It feels like a mob of loosely connected squads which just happen to share the same objectives. Which, honestly, when you put the fact that 2042 was designed as a battle royale first before getting shoved into a big team battle mold, everything just starts making sense. Oh, but Cheems! DICE said the players only play classes because of the guns that they like. Removing class restrictions in favor of specializations is a good thing. That's one half of the story. The other half DICE desperately wants you to forget. When people play classes for specific guns, it's because those guns are overpowered as all hell. USAS 12 with frag rounds, anyone? Maybe if DICE could learn how to properly balance their games, people wouldn't all load into a class just for that overpowered gun. This is a recurring theme with DICE games. Longtime Battlefront 2 players should remember how overpowered Anakin was when he launched, and how the players were all rushing to play as him. I haven't even touched on 2042's lack of content. You have like what? 3 game modes, Conquest, Breakthrough, and Hazard Zone, 22 weapons, 7 maps for the base game, 1 vehicle variant for each faction, so that's 1 tank, 1 attack chopper per faction, and there's only 2 factions by the way. I know that Battlefield 5 also only launched with 7 maps, but you also have 6 game modes to choose from, 37 guns, multiple tank and plane variants for the 2 factions at launch, 3 short campaign stories, and a lot of customization options to unlock that isn't just total reskins of a character. It's dreadful, absolutely dreadful how 2042 managed to launch with even less content than Battlefield 5. Oh, but Cheems! Portal mode is a thing! It has its own maps and guns, and you can make your own game modes. The game has lots of content! Don't even get me started with Portal. Portal isn't a love letter, it's a spit on the face. DICE offering Portal in compensation for lack of content is the equivalent of a luxury airline telling its first-class passengers to cook their own meals if they don't want to eat canned sardine sandwich, which is the only item on the menu. And all of this, even though the airline is charging premium price. That's exactly what Portal is. It's DICE knowing full well they shit the bed with how they handled the game and are telling the community to fix the game for them. It's absolutely shameful. When I pay AAA price for a game, I expect a AAA experience, not overpriced Gmod with shittier editing. It's one thing to offer an editor tool as supplement to already available content, but to offer it as a substitute, that's insulting, especially if we're already paying upwards of $60 to $70 for it. Having my balls dipped in honey and strung up by an ant farm is far less of an insult than being told to fix the game they couldn't be bothered to launch properly. When Valve, Bethesda, Microsoft, or Firaxis gave us tools for community content, the game it's meant for usually already has enough content to justify the original price. You can play CSGO, Skyrim, Halo, or XCOM 2 without having to load user-made content and still have a wealth of content to pick from. With 2042, not in its current state. But Cheems! All Battlefield games have had rocky launches. This is normal. This is fine. They'll fix the game eventually. How about they give us a functioning product before they charge full price for it, huh? Can we normalize that? They're expecting us to pay top dollar for a game that could have passed as a shitty early access title. That's insulting. And there's not even a guarantee that they'll bring it up to par. There's every chance in the world that they'll ditch the game right as it's getting good again. They've done it twice before with Battlefront 2 and Battlefield 5. Both games had their support cut short right after it crossed the line from being not good to alright. I would not be surprised at all if lightning struck for a third time and DICE ditched Battlefield 2042 for that hero shooter that they've got in the pipeline. What a fucking mess this game is. I might check back in after a year, maybe it'll be fixed by then, but somehow I doubt it. You know what I might check in on though? Arc Raiders, made by former DICE devs who got sick of the shit that EA and DICE were pulling. The gameplay reminds me of Battlefront 2, which I really like, and it's free to play too, so I don't lose any money if the game turns out to be a shit show. Anyways, I'm just about done with this video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, and don't buy Battlefield 2042. This has been Cheems of Regret wishing you all good luck and Godspeed. Signing out.